This podcast represents the opinions of the hosts of the Laugh Cry Club and guests on the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we share is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. All right, everybody. Welcome to the club. It's the Laugh Cry Club. It's another week. I'm Joy.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Chelsea.
Hello. Well, we are batch recording, which really makes me feel like we're just jumping into real podcasting because Rebecca's going on vacation. Chelsea's on a vacation she'll get to in a second. So we're recording 2 days in a row. So this episode will come out for us, it will come out a lot later. But Chelsea, where are you and what happened?
Okay, so I will nominate myself to go for the first Laugh Cry. My best girlfriend in the world of 30 plus years, this is like my soulmate of humans. She has a family vacation every year where they all go to Vegas. And we know that my life is a complete shit show personally. And so I can't plan anything at this point with being in cancer world. So she was feeling bummed about the trip. And I was like, you know what? I think I can pull this off. So that night, and thanks her sweet generosity, she's like, I'll get a ticket because you know how that is, the last minute, all the things. We get a ticket. I fly out the next night, which was last night. I'm ready to go. I'm cute. I'm having Prosecco at the bar. That's my thing. I'm in happy. You have
a great tracksuit on?
Yeah, I have a great tracksuit on. I'm ready to go. The flight gets delayed. And of course, I have a connector. And it gets delayed. And I'm in the airport and so this is my laugh. There's this girl who's a traveling nurse and these other guys who are engineers. And these guys are hitting on her so hardcore. Maybe they were drinking too because it was loud and hard. I put in my headphones because I was oh my gosh, this guy was over the top laughing at everything she said. And then she started teasing him. She's like, oh, if we get stuck in Dallas, there's Pete's Piano Bar we can go to. And this guy's
oh, no.
Yeah, I'm in, blah, 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 the whole thing. Well, needless to say, when we go to board the flight, she gets on the phone and she's calling her significant other. He looks crushed. He gets in line with his friend. And we all get on the flight, get to Dallas, get stuck in the tarmac. Everybody misses their next flight because we took the last one out. It's late night flying. And I'm this was my cry moment. I didn't cry, but I was you've got to be fucking kidding me. I'm going on a 2-day trip. I've got to get there. I'm so excited to see my girlfriend. And so there's that long line where you wait because they're going to give you a hotel voucher and they're going to switch hotels. And then I see that guy who's not with the girl who he was hardcore hitting on. He's with his buddy, womp womp, clearly not going to Pete's Piano Bar. And there's a massive line and I'm I'm not doing this. I'll just get a hotel. I'm definitely not doing this. So there's no hotels. Everything's sold out. That's at the airport. Very sad. I end up finding this Holiday Inn Express, which I'm in right now. I'm supposed to be at the Wynn Towers in Vegas in a suite recording this podcast. But instead, I'm in a room where they clean the carpet, I think, with that carpet stuff. So it smells so intense in this room and my throat hurts. And I think it's because it's 66 degrees and I've been inhaling chemicals all night.
Oh. God,
that's terrible.
Yeah, so that's my laugh cry. And I am going to be going to the Emeralds Club after this, doing my funny fun work day. And then Vegas, here I come. Get ready for it. We're going to have oh my God.
Do you have a lineup of things you guys are going to do, or is you just kind of flying by the seat of your pants?
Oh, there's no flying with this group.
Oh, okay. It's all planned. Okay.
This is very over the top, very fancy dinners, whatever is the newest thing. Today's a boat day. Obviously, I'm missing that, which is whatever. Sad. That's fine. They have a rent a boat water ski day. And then hopefully tomorrow will be massages and like a self-care day. But tonight, my girlfriend and I, like, we want to pretend like we're 20. We're going to go
Great.
out dancing. And the lighting in Vegas is so good that we might even look like we're 20. And then they pump it full of oxygen. So my 46-year-old woman.
Yeah. You're like, I have all the energy in the world.
Yeah. I'm just going to be taking in deep like inhalations, like meditation breath of Vegas oxygen and probably lots of creepy germs. And that I'm taking all this stuff to keep my immune system up.
Yeah.
Because I'm in chemo world. So this is my fun laugh cry that is relevant to today. And now I'm going to nominate Joy.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. It's good to be nominated. So my laugh cry is a combo. I'm kind of cheating this week, but also because we're batch recording, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I just talked about my laugh cry, which I did technically. But when these listeners are hearing this, it's going to be a week apart. But the laugh cry combination that I have is back up. We sold our house. I've lived in this house for 16 years. We sold it back in June. Closed on the house we're living in. We're building a new house. We've kind of like been in this waiting game because we technically have to be out of this house on a certain date, like a deadline date. And we're just like waiting for the new house to close so we'd be out of this house. But our fear was that we were going to have to like move into a rental until the new house was done because we only have a certain amount of time in this house, yada, yada. So yesterday we finally get the word that we're closing 2 days before we have to be out of this house. And I think I know I manifested this because I was like, we're not going to have to do a double move. We're just like, we're going to be out of this house. It's going to be fine. Like I was refusing to let myself even think about having to do like a rental situation. I was like, not even going to put that energy out there. And my husband's a big planner. So he was like, he likes to go, which I appreciate, but he likes to go to the place of like creating all the backup plans. Like, well, if we have to do a rental, here's what we would do. And I'm like, I'm not even entertaining that, which I think is a little frustrating for him. But anyway, the laugh cry was like, oh, I'm like laughing hysterically with relief and just crying because I'm so grateful because it was just from June to now has been a lot emotionally, just kind of letting go of this house energetically, the house that we literally created our entire marriage on. We got married the month after we moved in here. So we moved in here August 2008. So it's been like 16 years to the day that we're kind of like moving out of here. And then we got married in September of 2008. And so we're moving into the new house 16 years, almost to the day that we like got married. So it's kind of this weird, like energetic. So there's a lot of emotions flying around about that, but getting like that email that says, we finally have your closing date. I feel like such a relief to start planning. Thank you. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of like laugh cry.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you all should renew your vows since this is like a new thing.
I thought
and
about
maybe
that.
he'll wear sunscreen.
Rebecca, Joy, if your husband's listening, this
Genius.
Actually, she just did a solid. She doesn't even know you, and she just did a solid for you and Joy.
That is a brilliant idea. And
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. I mean, we went to Vegas back in February. We considered doing it. We were like, that would be really fun to go to like one of the chapels and like, anyway, but that's actually a really good idea. I like that. And maybe we can do it at Red Rocks, which is Scott's favorite venue.
That's nice.
But one last note about this is I wanted to ask you guys, because one of the laugh cry moments that happened when we were kind of like moving goes in phases where you're like, okay, I got to clean out a bunch of junk and then I got to pack and then, all that stuff. So when we were doing like a clean out to do a yard sale, we had to like move a bunch of stuff and like we were moving a bunch of furniture and something that I find really hilarious is like nothing brings out your dynamic than moving a piece of furniture together. I have this like theory that like your dynamic really rears its ugly head when you're like trying to move something together and communicate, kind of like the Friends episode. But we had a moment where we were laughing so hard about this piece of furniture because we were fighting. Because whenever I'm like trying to move something, he'll be like, no, do it this way, do it that way. And then so I stopped before we even like had the chance to move. And I was like, look, if our marriage is going to survive this move, we have to give each other grace because like I can't have you barking orders at me. You need to communicate. So we had a little laugh about that.
Okay, so there's the Holmes stress scale. And if you want to know like what life circumstances and how stressed you are, like I used to use this in therapy. So number 32 is moving. And that's just changing residence. So I think when you're changing residence and you're in escrow, you're like have the money part too. And you have the deadlines and the possible two, like I would bump that up from number 32 to like way higher on the list. So I just want to validate this because we're like, oh, you're moving. That's so exciting. That should just be the most amazing time. But Joy, you're right. It tests relationships. In fact, I have these neighbors and they're not married, but they were building a house together. And they said, if we can build this house together and get through, then we will know we're meant to get married because that's how stressful it is. I don't know how to answer your question, but that's my feedback.
No, and it's not Homes, Homes, which I initially heard, but I was like, oh no, it's Holmes, right? It's the Holmes stress inventory.
That is an amazing play on words.
That is right.
Because at first when you said Holmes, I was like, there's a home stress scale?
You know what?
Chelsea, how do you know all this shit?
You really have like an encyclopedia brain.
Only for therapy, but that is hilarious that I called it Holmes.
So this is on the topic, but a little bit off. This home situation is really difficult. I know it personally because my parents just sold a house like probably 6 months ago and were building a home, and their contractor, it was just dragging out. And then they had the building permit that was up in the beginning of August. So they're stressing about, I don't have to pay for that again. And they had sold their house. So they had to live in a hotel for 2 weeks. Home still was not done. And they've been in the basement of that home for 3 months now.
No.
And as far as I know, it's still not completed.
Oh, that is so stressful.
And it's totally affecting their marriage. So I'm hearing all the stuff. Like, we're thinking about divorce. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's a lot.
It's a big deal. And like when just really Scott and I have really had to have like conversations about like, all right, we got to like laser focus so we don't lose ourselves in this process. And we're really good at that. I think we've developed a really good pattern with that. But like last week, I picked a fight for I don't want to say no reason. I was just feeling super irritable. And I picked the stupidest fight. I used to do this a lot when we were like first married. I think there's just a lot of like learning curves as far as like triggers. Like we've talked about triggers, and I knew it was because of a trigger that hadn't come up in a long time. But I picked this fight, and he came home because I rage texted him something. I just never rage text. And he came home and he was like, we had to have a brave conversation over that where he's like, okay, like what is going on? You don't do that. Like you don't do that anymore. What is happening? So it's true. Like those stressors that really kind of put that pressure when it's like a really exciting thing for us. We're very excited that we're able to do this. We're very excited about this new home, but at the same time, really trying to check in with our relationship to be like, all right, we can't like let that take the back seat because this is a stressful event. So
okay, I'm going to share a fun tip. So when you're in these really stressful conversations, these kind of we call them brave conversations. I think we all call them the brave conversation because it's so uncomfortable and it means you're being very vulnerable and there might be a risk of triggers. Thinking back, I think that's episode 3 where we talked about that. There's your episode 4. Okay. Thank you, Rebecca. Episode 4, triggers. What I have found very helpful is like, what is my intention? And literally being unwavering from that intention. So if my intention is to stay connected, that will keep me from being Listen, the defenses come up and in my head, I'm like talking a lot of trash, but I can focus behaviorally with that intention. So that is just like a helpful tip. If you're on any of these stress inventory checklists, you're going through a hard time, you're having the moving, you're now considering divorce because the move is such a nightmare, all the things, focus on your intention, keep going back to your why. That connects with your values, and that can help you get through really, really, really hard times and really brave conversations.
Yeah. And it anchors you. It anchors anchors you into a space of like, okay, for me, I was able to like, you have the reaction, you have the emotion, but I was able to anchor and be like, all right, I couldn't say what I was feeling. Instead, I had like this rage reaction, instead of being like, I'm feeling really scared. So the Holmes stress inventory, not the Holmes stress. Holmes. We can post that in our show notes too, which I think is great. It's a really basic list. I don't say basic in the terms of the content, but it's easy to look at and be like, oh, okay, this kind of puts it into a framework that I can really easily digest and validate that what I'm going through is stressful. So thank you, Chelsea, for all those hot tips.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, let's move over to Rebecca. We're nominating you next.
Yay. My laugh cry moment is one moment again. I have this dog. His name is Oliver, and he's super cute. And he weighs about 40 pounds, and he's this all white little dog. He looks like kind of like a lab. He's not a lab. He's like a rat terrier mastiff mix, which is very bizarre. We did his DNA, and that's what he is.
A rat terrier mastiff.
Yeah. I don't know how it happened, but it did. So, that's another conversation. But he's super cute. He's like 40 pounds. He's just like an all white little dog, super cute. He looks like a little lab. So we share a fence with our neighbors, and they have a Great Dane who is still a puppy. It's about 1 year old, but they're fostering this little dog named Everly. She is a little bit smaller than Oliver, and she looks like a little yellow lab. I thought she was a puppy, but she's actually, this is like, they think this is as big as she's going to get. So she's like, think of a little yellow lab puppy that's probably 25 pounds, and it stays that size forever. How cute is that? I mean, they're adorable. So Oliver and her have created a love affair through our fence. And he goes over, he's kind of a voyeur. He likes to stare at the neighbors anyway through like the cracks of the fence. So we'll see him over there just like staring through. And it's like, voyeur. Dude, that is so weird. I go look and it's our neighbors laying out in their yard. I'm like, that is so weird. Stop. But now it's this little dog. So I'll see him over there and his little tail's going. It's so cute. And he's just standing there, and then I'll go look through, and she's there too. And lately she's been laying right up against the fence, like trying to get as close to Oliver as possible. And then they start crying at each other, and their little noses are trying to touch, but they can't. So the other day, we're taking them for the walk. We're on opposite sides of the street. I see the neighbor coming with Everly and their Winston, the Mastiff. And as soon as I noticed it, I looked at Oliver's posture. He immediately got very alert. They're probably 40 feet away from us. The tail started going, and he immediately knew it was her. He'd never seen her on a walk before. I looked at her. Her posture changed too. It was like they locked eyesight.
Oh,
and it was like slow motion of like, let's get to each other. We're running through a field of beautiful flowers. And then they got to meet, and it was so joyous. And they were like whining and playing. It was so cute. But when we were getting closer and closer, I kept hearing Whitney Houston's song, I want to run to you. And like, they were just like, oh, I'm so excited. I can't. It just brought so much joy that it was like tearful, but also funny. Like, how did they know? They've never seen each other
so
out.
Smart. They smell each other. Did you just watch that Inside the Mind of a Dog on Netflix? And like, it'll just blow your mind.
I've got to watch that. But that's
so cute.
It was such a cute little moment. And this dog loves her. And he's going to be so sad when she gets adopted.
Yeah.
But
oh
that's
my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
That.
Can
Animals
you
like
adopt
that?
her?
Chelsea, that would be 4 dogs at my house. Are you gonna help support me?
Little Soups. We are looking for you to sponsor us, Little Soups. Does Little Soups do dog food? And maybe there's like a great
they do. I mean, it's like a Purina brand or whatever. It's like one of those like big brands. It's just the name of us. It's the name of a food is Little Soups, which I think we were at the store the other day. Speaking of a laugh moment, and they also have a brand or a type of treat for a cat called Little Slurps.
Oh my God.
Problem solved. Little Slurps, Little Soups, anything little.
We just gave them a lot of ads right now. Go
Please write to them and tell them how much you love our podcast.
Yeah,
and that they should sponsor us.
Yes, because then we could fund Rebecca's fourth dog.
Yes, and it would really help Oliver's love affair.
Yeah,
with Everly.
they need to be
They could
best
live
friends.
happily ever after.
Yeah,
it would be so cute, and I'd post lots of pictures.
Yeah, when do you find true love like that? Only smelling. So this is only pheromones, right? They're just smelling each other, and this is soulmates, little soups, little slurps. If I were you, I would support that. Plus, the trailer could be Whitney Houston's song, and the dogs are walking and they see each other.
Slow motion.
I'm into it.
This is just writing itself.
Yeah. Okay. I love it.
This
Done.
is writing
Problem
itself.
solved.
Thanks, Chelsea.
We're solving, on top of solving people's problems via therapy, we're solving these pet friends that need to be friends forever and how we can make this friendship last. I mean, this podcast just goes all over solving problems. What do we got next?
I want to say that my dogs do tune into this podcast and they love it, and they've rated it 5 stars.
Oh, thank you. 5 stars with their paws. 5 paws. Okay, so this week we got a listener email that we decided to just turn into the entire topic of the episode because it's going to take us that long to answer and we can really get into it. So,
because it's such a great question.
It's a great question with many layers and many stories that we have personally. So I'll go ahead and read it, and then you can take it away as far as who wants to be nominated to answer first. So this is from, actually, I'm going to keep it anonymous just in case. But I do know this person, and thank you for your support because you're amazing. And I've met you, and you're great. Okay, I'm a longtime listener of This Is Joy and Claire GGW, which is the podcast I've been doing my whole podcasting career. And I'm excited for your new show. Your conversations around mental health playing out in real life are both helpful and fun to listen to. I especially like the tips from a therapist, like 90 seconds to feel an emotion. My question is about whether it's recommended / all right to have therapists for different things, or if that's a sign to move on to a new therapist. I'm relatively new to therapy in general and have been seeing my therapist for a year now. She's wonderful, and we've mostly focused on recent losses I've experienced and a significant struggle my husband is going through and what support looks like. My therapist is someone who feels like a motherly figure to me, and there are some additional traumas from my past that I'd like to process, but have some shame / embarrassment about broaching the topic. Do you think it would be okay to seek another therapist to discuss these other areas? I would feel guilty not telling her about this and would love your recommendation on how to approach this. I'll also say that it was tough to find a therapist, and I'm currently seeing someone out of network, which isn't ideal. Great question. Who wants to start?
Well, Rebecca just silently nominated me in the chat. So I'm going to look at this in a couple different ways. So number one, when we think about having 2 therapists, that isn't ideal because there's ethical reasons involved, and really it can get really confusing. And most therapists, unless it's so specific, I would say a rare case, somebody wants, somatic therapy for their trauma, and then they want to work with their other therapist on just like their relationship with their partner or something. That might be okay, but most of the time we wouldn't recommend that. I can share a time similar to this. My first therapist wasn't great. My second therapist was incredible, an amazing human. And I saw him for several years, and I had that embarrassment too. So I had kept from him that I was not in love with my husband at the time. Not my current husband, but my fun fact. I've had a few marriages.
Oh, how many marriages have you had? How many times have you been married?
I've had 2, but the second one that I'm on now, I feel like I've married him twice.
Okay. Yeah.
I have married him twice. So I would say I'm on my 3rd marriage. Absolutely. But my first marriage, I was very young, and I married somebody who felt very safe because of my own attachment abandonment issues. And I always felt a lot of shame because I was never in love with him. It was literally a friend who I felt safe with, and kind of like the path of least resistance, somebody who was much more crazy about me than I was about him. And I stayed with him for, I was married for 6 years, and I was a kid. I was 23, so I was young. So I was in therapy with my amazing therapist for probably probably 2 years before I admitted that I was miserable in my marriage. I was depressed. My ex-husband had some addiction stuff. I never had shared any of that with my therapist because I was presenting for all these other things and it just felt so vulnerable. So I remember when I came in, and it was when I had that enough is enough moment and I was done, and I came in and I told him, and he was so compassionate. He was like, "You've never shared this with me." I was crying, of course, and I felt like, oh my God, I've known this guy for 2 years. I've seen him every single week, sometimes twice a week, and I've shared all these things, but I never shared this. So that was, we call it in therapy, transference, where I was seeing him as somebody in my life who I couldn't actually fully authentically be myself with. And when we got past that, when I got past that, and he was just so compassionate, so loving, so amazing, that really provided what I will call a corrective emotional experience. It was sharing something so tender, so vulnerable, and having my therapist meet me with unconditional positive regard, understanding. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you didn't tell me. It was actually wonderful. So I will share that kind of addressing the question of having two therapists or not feeling comfortable sharing. And I will also say I've hired many helpers in my life for specific reasons. Like I had a really bad car accident and was having really bad post-traumatic stress after that for years, could not drive in the rain. And I hired somebody specifically to treat that trauma. I hired the therapist who I complained to specifically for that. So sometimes we do hire people for specific reasons, and sometimes it's not a good fit or you're ready to grow and maybe you've outgrown the person who you're with. That could be it too. Rebecca, I'm going to pass it to you.
Yeah.
To kind of keeping this going.
It is. I would like to reiterate too that you can have these different therapists throughout your life, but it isn't best to have multiple therapists at the same time, like you were saying, Chelsea. Unless, say, you're in marriage counseling and then you're also in individual therapy. That's okay. So I would recommend don't see multiple therapists at one time. It's not best practice for the clinicians.
Yeah, clinicians don't love it. And it's more
don't
around
like it, actually.
like an ethic. Yeah.
Yes.
We don't like it because ethically we have a very strict list of ethics that we have to abide by. And when we are developing a treatment plan, we are developing a treatment plan for you based on what our relationship is, but based on the presenting problem you're giving us. And when you're working with another therapist, it's like we don't know exactly what you're doing with the other therapist and what you're working on. And if that conflicts with what we're working on,
possibly lead to negative outcomes for you as the client.
Right.
And then it also puts that clinician in an ethical dilemma as well, which I don't think anybody wants to deal with.
Right.
Or, right. Another thing, too, to consider is I think most people like to use their insurance for therapy, and they're not going to pay for you to see two different therapists for individual therapy. So if you came in, you're working with Joy, and you say, I also want to work with Chelsea, they're not going to pay for that. So you'd have to pay out of pocket. And I would imagine if either one of these therapists knew you had another one, they're going to have a conversation about let's not do that until you figure out what you want to do with the first therapist. But it is really hard when you are seeing a therapist and you've developed a relationship and they mean something to you. I think it's pretty normal for us to, as human beings, to get attached to your therapist. You are sharing extremely vulnerable information with somebody and they are developing a very soft place to land for you, or they should be developing that, and a place of trust and compassion. So of course, you would have developed some sort of relationship. There are tons of stories too about people developing feelings for their therapist too, romantic things like that. But with this situation of this kind of motherly figure, I get it. I've had that before myself. When I was really young in my 20s, I was seeing a female therapist, and I developed that relationship where I felt like I was getting therapy from this person, but also that compassion and that love from that person that I was seeking in like my own personal relationships too. So that was really nice. But I would encourage this listener to just try to have an open conversation. You love your therapist, it sounds like. Have a conversation, just rip that Band-Aid off, say, this is what I'm thinking. There's these other things I want to work on. and this is how I'm feeling. Can we talk through this? Is this something you can work on? And give the clinician that opportunity to work with you on it. Because I think you'll probably find that they can help you. And if they feel like this is totally out of my wheelhouse, maybe I don't specialize in this area, they're going to help you find a really good match.
The thing that comes up when I read this email is you have a great relationship with your therapist now, which is so key. And in the therapy world, we always talk about this as therapists, that one of the most important things in therapy is the relationship you have with your therapist. And I'm pretty sure, Chelsea, you can correct me here because you're the encyclopedia, but there's studies done that in order for the most impactful thing in therapy is the relationship you have with your therapist. Like that makes the biggest impact in therapy.
Yeah, 80% is the statistic, at least last I checked. And when I was in grad school, that 80% is the fit. It's the relationship. So we have to think about our wounds throughout our lives come from relationships most of the time, like the stranger assaults and the random things. And that's pretty low. Most of our hurts and wounds and our damage and suffering comes from other human beings. And so when you're in a relationship with another human, whether that be your partner, whether that be your child, whether that be your therapist, relationships offer an opportunity for healing. And that's what makes therapy so beautiful, is because you do attach to your therapist and your therapist attaches to you. Like, we love our clients. The fit matters for us too, just so you know.
Totally.
So most therapists, especially if you've been doing this for a really long time, you're not just taking anybody, you're really having that consultation call, and you're feeling it out too, because that's how much it matters. And I also want to honor, it's a very strange relationship when you're changing therapists, or if your therapist is changing jobs or something like that, because then we have to sever ties in the relationship. And that's really hard too, to say goodbye when you're switching therapists or when you've graduated therapy. Like, it's an unnatural thing to have shared all these intimate, vulnerable moments and have had this person help you. And then it's like, okay,
bye. Yeah.
Now you're done. And
Yeah.
that's really hard too. And so I do want to honor that for this listener or any listeners. The switch is really hard.
I've heard clients and even therapists refer to it as feeling like a breakup, right? You're like sharing everything. You're vulnerable with this person. You're trusting them. And then one day you meet your goals and it's time to say goodbye. And it is really difficult. I mean, all three of us have actually been there ourselves, and we've had to say goodbye to therapists. And I just want to say that's really hard to do.
Yeah, it's not something we get to do in real life a lot, or really ever. I did a continuing education course recently about termination in the therapy relationship, and how I've noticed, I don't know if you both have experienced this, but I've noticed that it's not as common to get to a point of termination, because clients will kind of fizzle out and avoid termination and then just kind of drop off. So that's a really hard thing that we have to deal with as therapists too, of just like making sure that you have a good wrap up or be very clear about what termination looks like. And that is a part of therapy. You don't enter therapy, which I think is different for every therapist, but the way that I practice is when you enter therapy, you should have termination in mind of what the plan is. What is the plan? What is the episode of care going to look like from start to finish, so that I can help you get there?
Let's talk about it up front. I really appreciate that when a therapist during that intake process is obviously explaining how therapy works and all the HIPAA compliance and confidentiality protocols, but also talking about how this will work when we are ready, when you've met your goals, and when we'll terminate our relationship.
I went off track, and I want to finish my thought around the listener's question, but what really jumped out at me was when they said it's a motherly figure and they have a good relationship. We talked about how important it is to have that good relationship. And this is where the work starts, that you have this shame and embarrassment to say the hard thing when you have this motherly figure. That is like rubber hitting the road. It's go time for change within yourself. That is the perfect opportunity, like you guys were saying, of bringing this up and saying, I am so embarrassed and I'm so ashamed to talk about this. Getting through that with a therapist is such a corrective experience and a different experience that's what therapists are there for. It is one of our favorite moments in therapy to have someone do something or face a fear with their therapist in the therapy session. It's what it's meant to do, is to be contained in a safe environment where you can have this other exchange with a human that is non-judgmental, that is accepting, that is loving and caring, for you to kind of put it out there and have that shame be like put in the palm of the hand to look at and be like, okay, we can look at this and I don't have to hold this shame and embarrassment anymore. So I, as a therapist, those are one of our favorite moments because it's a beautiful, hard thing. It's the laugh, cry. It's the really yin and yang of it's so hard to do. And it's so beautiful to watch the bravery of the clients go through that in a way that's why we come into the helping profession, is to help people heal from those really hard moments. So I would just encourage the listener to think about that in terms of, you could even talk to the therapist, like, there are some things that I really want to share, and you don't have to say it in the session. You could just say, or you don't have to say it all in one session. You could come into a session and say, I've been really feeling shame and embarrassment about some things that I want to talk about at some point with you, but I'm struggling with a shame and embarrassing feeling if I bring these up, and just kind of test it out and see how that feels. Because I know myself as a therapist how I would handle that, but I don't know your therapist. And I would assume if you have a good relationship with them at this point, they're going to be loving, trusting, and kind to you. But instead of seeking a new therapist, what is going to change? It's like wherever you go, there you are. What will this other therapist do to not have you feel shameful? And, so to me, it's like more about working through this quote unquote motherly figure therapist with the shame and embarrassment. That to me feels more profound than finding a therapist that is maybe not a motherly figure. There's something
100
there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
100%. I feel like this is such a huge growth opportunity for this listener. And perhaps once working through this with this current therapist, things are going to open up in your life. And it's possible if you work through this, that maybe all of a sudden you see other places in your life where now you've conquered this fear or shame, because I feel like shame is transferable as well through our life. So this could just really change things for you.
Rebecca, that is both what you and Joy are saying. It's just right on. It's such a good call out, because that is where the real work, I'm talking, like when I say the real work, I mean, we are healing really deep old wounds. When we think of shame is there's something wrong with me. I did this thing, or I think this thing, or there's just something wrong with who I am. And we are fiercely protective of that piece. In fact, I have a new therapist who I'm working with right now, and it was my second session yesterday. And yesterday, 2 days. I don't know. I'm mixed up on my time being in Dallas over here instead of Vegas.
Being in Dallas, yeah.
Being Dallas instead of Vegas. I'm all messed up.
This is my neighborhood.
Well, if I was with you, it'd probably be so
Way
much better. Let's just call that out.
Let's just say that.
Yeah,
dogs through the fences.
Oh my gosh.
Just having a blast. Yeah.
Okay. I could go down a whole rabbit hole of how much fun I would have if I was at Rebecca's.
I'm coming over too. I'll be there.
Yeah. We should do that, especially since I get stranded here all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to my therapist. So I was talking to her on Wednesday, and I was saying, like one of my stuck points is like the fear of authority figure, fear of getting in trouble, fear of like the judgment, like I'm wrong. Like don't be yourself too much, because that's too much. Don't have too many emotions, because that's too much. Like these really deep, hardcore internal wounds. And so she was asking me, well, what do you want to work on next? Because I'm already moving quite quickly. It's hypnosis, which I love, and I'm kind of cutting through. And my heart was racing. Like it was like telling on myself. This like dirty, embarrassing, gross, like, oh my gosh. It's so dumb when I think about, not dumb, I don't want to judge myself, but.
No, but I totally hear you. Like,
yeah, it was, my anxiety was through the roof. My armpits were sweating. I was like, get me off of this call. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, now we're going to have another therapy session where I talk about this, because I literally opened up one of my biggest, a huge old wound. But I need to do the work on this. It's a stuck point. It is a stuck point for me, a big one. And so I want to let all the listeners know it feels terrible. It feels hard. having that piece of yourself that you've deemed is wrong with you, that shame is brutal. And we did, 3,000 plus internship hours to get our licenses, took multiple exams, have been in the field for a really long time and thoroughly understand that. And because we're human beings, we have our own stuff too that hopefully we're working on. So I just wanted to call that out.
I'm so glad you said that. And the stuck points are huge because, like I said, when people bring that to me in therapy, I'm so proud of them. And they'll usually preface it with, this is going to sound so bad, or this is going to sound horrible, or I feel horrible saying this. We hear that a lot. And I'm always like, I'm here, I'm not going to force anything out of you. Yeah. Or so dumb. They'll say, oh, this is so dumb. And no matter what you say, sometimes I'll say that too in therapy. I'm like, trust me, anything you've said, I've heard it, and we're all in this together. There's plenty of people like you. I think we all just kind of need to hear that validation that we're not alone in our thoughts, or that we're not alone in our feelings, that we're not alone in that shame. And the second people say it and truly they see my reaction that's neutral and loving, they're like, oh, you're not judging me. And I think that's what we're all used to, is shame and judgment, because that's what we do to ourselves, is we shame and judge ourselves. And to have that corrective experience with a therapist is just like I just love humans for that, because it's such a beautiful thing to witness. And then they can kind of go, okay, like this is normal. Sometimes they have to see it on our face, that our reactionless face of like, okay, this is normal. And it's so beautiful.
It is so interesting how we as human beings judge ourselves. This is going to be dumb. This is horrible. I feel such ashamed about it. We all do it. We here do it as well. And I wish we as humans could get away from that. But I understand why we do it, especially like if you're talking to somebody like, oh, this is going to sound really bad. It's like you're almost trying to preface it and like soften the blow, because I want this person to like me.
Yes.
I want this person to not think I'm a bad person, because I'm not.
Yeah.
Maybe I just made a mistake. I really wish that we could get rid of some of those adjectives when we're describing things that we're going through in life or feelings. Like, let's stop prefacing it.
Yeah.
Just say it. I know that's scary, but think about how brave it would be if we could all just say, yeah, my armpits are really sweating right now. I can't feel my toes. This is stressing me out. But here's the thing I'm going to tell you. That would be so lovely.
Let's have that be our homework assignment for everyone, is to not preface
No
like almost like a
adjectives about
disclaimer for ourselves. I do that a lot. I'm guilty of that.
I do it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why am I doing that? I'm like silencing myself, when I do that.
Because ultimately we're softening the blow of judgment, of perceived judgment.
Because we want to be liked. We all want to be liked. Your therapist wants to be liked. You want to be liked. We all want to be liked.
We all want to be liked. I mean, at the end of the day, we just want to be liked. We don't want criticism. We don't want to be hurt. We protect our hearts from hurt. That's what we're doing. We're just walking around, just raw nerves everywhere.
It's causing me to have such a cry moment, because I think about when we're sharing that shame or that judgment and we're quantifying it to kind of give the buffer, right? Like I do the overcorrect. I like tell on myself. Like people are thinking that I'm going to tell them like I murdered somebody or I did something terrible, when really it's just like my feeling connected to something else. It's like not even that bad what I did. Like I maybe didn't even do anything. It's just in my head. But if I can look at myself, which is what happened when you guys were talking, I looked at myself as like a little girl with that wound. And I just feel like I want to pick her up and be like, you're fine, baby girl. Like you're all right. This is actually not even a big deal. And it just feels really bad. And then go through that, feeling the feeling instead of shoving it, expressing the feeling and having somebody be receptive to the feeling and really healing that emotion. So I just want to say thank you for this, Joy and Rebecca, what you shared, that wanting to be liked and that wanting to heal those parts, because it's really our feelings. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does things that they wish they could undo. And hopefully you're learning and growing from that.
Mm-hmm.
but it's the emotions that get really stuck and stored in the body.
Nothing brings me more like in a state of really deep emotions than thinking about my younger self. I can barely do it, which says a lot. But whenever I think of my younger self, I can picture the cute little girl had a huge gap in the middle of her teeth. Like, I was just adorable. And just when I think about that, I know a lot of people in therapy like to put a picture of their younger selves on their table, on their desk, so they see it all the time in a way that's like taking care of that younger self, because that's truly where we have like collected a lot of those wounds and we can't get through life without them. So there's no one out there walking around that's like, I have no wounds. We all have them. And that always, when you were talking about that, I'm like, oh, I feel it coming up. Woo! So yeah, it is very real, but this has been a great discussion today. I'm just so grateful for you guys.
I want to end us on a quote. I think it's Eckhart Tolle who says, this simple fact that we're human beings means that we had suffering in our childhoods. We think of this, people think of suffering in their child and they go, oh, your parent did this, or you didn't do this, or you didn't get that. Okay, those things may or may not be true. But the simple fact that we're human beings means that we have faced adversity, we have been hurt, we have had things that have happened that have damaged us. And so it's normal. And maybe we can post pictures of ourselves as little kids. I want to see you, Joy and Rebecca. I want to see your little kid. Can we? Okay, the week before, we're gonna post some little pictures, and I hope that inspires our listeners to maybe see them, see the shame, and see their vulnerabilities as that little kid who was really helpless and didn't have the tools, resources, relationships, knowledge to say, hey, little one, you're all right. You're fine.
You're doing
probably
the best
better than fine. Yeah, you're probably amazing.
We're all just out there living with our younger selves, and like we're doing all right. Human and flawed.
We're all in the same club.
We are all in the same club. That's the whole purpose of doing this show.
We got you. We all have each other. This is the Laugh Cry Club.
Yeah.
And we all can support each other.
Yeah, we all have patches that are the same. There's no like presidents or anything. We're all just in it equals. Everyone is welcome. Well, this has been such a beautiful episode. Chelsea, good luck on your flight to Vegas. Cannot wait to hear about it. This episode will be, released in a couple weeks, but people will probably see your fun adventures on social media, or maybe not. Depending on what kind of trouble you get into. Listeners can reach out to us at Laugh Cry Club on Instagram. We're on Facebook, and we're also on TikTok, but we've yet to really get going on TikTok. But Miles, maybe he'll start our TikTok. Actually, we should just start our TikTok and be like, Miles, we don't need your help.
We'll do the Gen X version of it, Miles. So
the Gen X version. But email us your questions. This was a wonderful discussion today based on a listener question, laughcryclub@gmail.com. Topic ideas, email questions, anything goes. We're here to help you. We are 3 licensed professional therapists out in the world, just wanting to make the world a better place. And please rate us 5 stars on any podcast app that you listen, and please just share it with a friend. The word of mouth advertising is the best you can do to help this podcast grow, and we would love to have it reach as many people as possible. And we just appreciate you listening. So signing off for this week.
Thanks,
love
everyone.
You lots.
Yeah, see you next week.
Vegas, baby.
All the love, all the hugs, and hopefully
double down.
All the dancing. Ooh, and gambling. I love gambling.
You gotta bet big to win big.
Bet big. High roller. What's the words? I don't know. I don't gamble.
All the words at Vegas is Chelsea. That's it. We know that encompasses all things fun.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.